I notice that when I eat too many carbs, I start to get a paunchy tummy, and I start to just not feel really all that great. I feel sluggish. Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, A Country Life. I'm Jennifer, and today what I have in store for myself is a great big bulk cooking day. Today I'm going to focus on a whole lot of like meat type dishes, not so much carbohydrates, okay? So I'm going to do a lot of low carb cooking, and I'm not going to put this into any kind of category like keto or Atkins, if that even is a thing anymore, or any of the, you know, this isn't going to be AIP or anything like that. This is just simply low carb dishes that I make and that I like to eat to keep my carbohydrate consumption lower. I notice that when I eat too many carbs, I start to get a paunchy tummy, and I start to just not feel really all that great. I feel sluggish, and so I have since 2015, I know the day, May 15th of 2015, I have really worked at eliminating carbs. I was super good for like 2 years. Now this last year has not been fantastic. Lots of noise in the background. Warren's actually cooking right now, carbohydrates, and outside Emily has the tractor running, so you may hear all kinds of background noise, but such is large family life. I'm going to give you a quick peek at my plan for the day, and then we're going to just get right to it. All right, so here we go. Low carb, bulk cooking day, family size meals. So what I consider one meal is something that's going to feed our family. Right now I'm feeding 8, and I do like to have leftovers for lunch the next day. Not necessarily to feed all 8 people, but at least to have leftovers for a few of us that enjoy leftovers. I really don't know what order I'm going to go in or exactly how much this I'm going to get done today, but I'll just share it all with you. First up, I'm going to be doing 2 big family size Big Mac casseroles. That has just become a big favorite and pretty simple to put together. Taco meat for salads and nacho bars. I love doing taco meat because people that like it in a shell or, you know, with chips or whatever can do that. And for those of us that like to eat it a low carb style, we can just have it as a great big salad, and it's still very filling. This is a brand new recipe that I'm going to try out. I found a couple online, and I'm kind of adapting it to our tastes. I'm going to do pizza soup because that is one thing I really miss, is being able to just devour some pizza every once in a while. So I thought, why not pizza soup? So I'm going to do a whole bunch of recipes using pork chops. I think I bought 6 or 7 great big packs of pork chops, and I'm going to divide those up between 4 meals. They're very similar. This one is meant to be made in the crock pot. This one is oven roasted, so I'll get started on this, and at the point where I would normally put it in the oven, I'll just wrap it up tight with plastic wrap and foil and pop it in the freezer until it's time to bake. Queso fundido is another favorite. I'm going to do 2 family size meals of that, and then 2 crock-pot Philly cheesesteak recipes, and then 2 grilled sesame chicken. Even though it's getting colder, we still love to use the grill. And I'm not going to be getting these ready for the freezer because like this one just works better if it's fresh. But I do think that some of the stuff I will get ready, like I'll probably make the marinade and just put that into a little canning jar. And then I also picked up ingredients to make 2 of the slow cooker chicken bacon ranch. And so again with that one, I think it just works better if it's made fresh because it has cream cheese in it, and I don't care for freezing cream cheese. So I will cook up the bacon though ahead of time and just pop that into Ziploc bags in the freezer so that is ready, because that is probably the most time consuming part of that recipe. That's the plan for the day. It is a Packer Sunday, and I know I've mentioned this before, but I love cooking on these Packer Sundays, especially when we just don't have anywhere else that we have to be. It's a rainy, dreary day again, and so this is just going to be a good day. A number of the meals that I'm cooking take bulk pork sausage and then also a hamburger, and so I'll be using a mix of beef hamburger and venison hamburger in those. But I like to get all of that stuff cooking up first so that that can be cooking while I'm assembling some of the other recipes. So I have all this pork sausage. This is going to be for the pizza. What is this for? It's going to be for the pizza soup, and it seems like it, oh, and for the queso fundido. Warren's over here. I told you that he is ready for the Packer game, and he is doing a little a little baking for himself here. This is, what is this?
Unleavened bread.
For deer hunting.
Yes.
He calls this deer hunting food. So he's just kind of getting that ready, and yeah. Pork sausage is coming along nicely here. I think that was 6 pounds that I have all together for my, 4 big family size recipes that I'm making. I have out my trusty ice cream pails again for mixing up my soup. So for the pizza soup, what I'm going to be doing here is I'm just going to put all of the ingredients except for the pork sausage. Everything's just going to go in here raw, like the onion and the green peppers. I'm going to put the water, just everything's going to go into these pails. I'll put the pork sausage into them when it's done, and then when it's time, I'll pop these in the freezer, take them out a day or 2 ahead, just put them in the fridge to thaw, and then I'll just pour these into a crock pot and let them cook all day on low, and then we'll have pizza soup. Pizza soup is done. I thought that it was going to make a little bit bigger batch. This is pretty thick, so I think I could add a little bit more water to it if I want to. But just looking at it, I think that this is something that for sure I am going to eat. It'll be a nice treat when, the family wants pizza and I can just kind of warm up a bowl of soup. So that may be what ends up happening with this, just because, honestly, guys, a couple people came by and said, that doesn't look very good. So, I don't know. I think it looks delicious. And how it'll get served is with, once it's hot, then we'll put mozzarella cheese on top. And you can use like cheese croutons or something if you want a little bit of a carbohydrate or a little bit of a crunch. Anyways, this is the pizza soup. I'm going to get the lids on, get those in the freezer. Here's the rest of my sausage. I'm going to divide this up into 2 portions. And I already had a request for one of the queso fundidos to be for the Packer game this afternoon. In case you're wondering, queso fundido means, I think, something like molten cheese or lava cheese, something like that. Anyways, it's just a layered dish. I'll show you guys, but it goes into a large cast iron pan, something that you can put in the oven, and it's just pork sausage, and I'm going to add some more spices to this too, and then peppers, onions, a whole bunch of cheese, and then another layer, do the same thing on the top. I put some tomatoes and put it in the oven. Actually, I put the tomatoes in afterwards, but I put it in the oven and let it just get all kind of bubbly so that cheese is nice and melty. And then you pull it out, top it with the tomatoes, and serve it with chips. I'll eat it just as is. I'll probably actually put it on a pile of lettuce. I would normally make queso fundido in a cast iron pan, but since I'm doing this, you know, for the freezer, I just didn't want to tie up one of my cast iron pans. So, and this will work perfectly fine for putting in the oven too. I'm going to layer in cheese, sausage, more cheese. I'm going to put all the veggies on. I'm going to do some more cheese, sausage again, and some more cheese. I'm going to sprinkle that with a little chili powder. This is queso fundido. What happens to this next is it goes into the oven for just about like 5 to 10 minutes. I mean, really just to get this nice and hot and the cheese all bubbly and, you know, just so it's nice and stringy and everything. And then when it comes out, I always just chop up a few tomatoes. If you don't have fresh tomatoes, it totally works to throw a can of Rotel over the top. You know, that's the tomatoes and diced chilies together if you like it spicy. Or just a plain old can of diced tomatoes. You can leave the juice in if you like it a little juicier. Strain the juice out if you just want the tomatoes over the top. Really, however you want to do it. I'm going to wrap this in plastic wrap and then in aluminum foil. Put this one in the freezer. This is going to make a great supper. I have plenty of meat left because I really want to make a giant one for today for the Packer game. Let me show you guys. I'm going to start working on all of ground venison recipes, and this is what you start with when you're not prepared. Yesterday I did not think that I was going to be doing this a big cooking day today, but the calendar, when I looked at the calendar and I was like, oh, we've got nothing really going. And so I thought, you know what, today's gonna be the day. So I'm starting with frozen ground venison. That's 8 pounds there, and then I also have 4.5 pounds of ground beef. I'm gonna get that unwrapped and get that actually cooking in a separate pot, just because I know this one isn't big enough. That's gonna take a really long time. Whoops, I think my camera was crooked. That's gonna take a really long time to get all of that to kind of thaw and then cook. I'm not really in a big hurry. As all of the beef and the ground venison are cooking up, I'm just getting everything ready for my Big Mac casseroles. So how this kind of came to be is that back in 2015 that Nick had asked to have Big Macs, and I thought, you know, I wonder if we could just make our own Big Mac sauce. And so of course I hit the internet and found this recipe from Top Secret Recipes, and I think I pretty much do it exactly as it says here with the mayo, the French dressing, sweet pickle relish, and everything. And so we've been making Big Macs ever since. And then at some point I came across a recipe for Big Mac casserole, and I thought, well, there we go, that'd be a fun way to make it just maybe a little bit faster and something I could do a little bit beforehand. The recipe originally is from Peace, Love, and Low Carb with a side of bacon. It's the name of the blog. You can find all kinds of recipes there. I've kind of adapted it over the years. I don't use her Russian dressing mix. I use this mix, which is kind of getting everything assembled for that, so that when the meat is done, I can quickly put that together, because yeah, I have a lot of things left on the list that I want to get done here, and the afternoon here is ticking away. Alright, so the venison is still cooking away and it's just taking quite a while, so I'm going to move on to all my pork chops here. And the first recipe I'm going to make is just super easy. I mean, I wouldn't even call it a recipe. You just pile in as many pork chops as your family wants into a freezer bag, pour over some Italian dressing, a little water, and then just put in a whole bunch of onions. So these are the last of our garden onions here. I have them all sliced up. Just going to put a handful right into here, and then that's just going to add a really good flavor. And when I want to cook these, I'm just going to cut the bag open, put the whole thing, frozen and all, right into the crock pot and just let it cook on low all day long until they're cooked all the way through. So I'm working on the next pork chop recipe, and this one actually requires the pork chops to be browned slightly first, and that's why I really like to do this as a freezer meal, or just kind of a make ahead, so that I can do a whole bunch at once. So far I have a pan of 8 here. This is going to be a pan of 8, and then I actually have 4 chops left over, so I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do with those yet. While those are browning over there, I will just show you. I just use a little bit of beef broth, about 1 1/4 cups. Now pour that over. And just a little bit more. And then this also, are you stealing my pickles? Mm-hmm. And this recipe also uses onions, but it uses a sweet vidalia onion. And so I've got 4 of those sliced up. I'm just going to fry these up real quick. When I'm finished frying these, I'll just kind of brown them up in those pan drippings. Spread them between. I'll spread them between these 2 pans here. Plastic wrap, foil, and pop them in the freezer. So these last 4 pork chops here that I have, I'm just going to throw them into a freezer bag and pour in a whole bunch of barbecue sauce. And then I think Warren will just grill these sometime here. I'm not even going to put these in the freezer. I'm just going to put these in the fridge. And sometime in the next day or 2, I'll see if he'll grill those up. And I think that's going to be tasty. It won't be a real big meal, but it'll just be something. I'll add, of course, something else to this, or make sure it's a night where like both Emily and Amber are working or something like that. So there's just a few of us home. It's going to work out just great. Everything else is coming along well here. I've got the onions sauteing, and oh my gosh, I think the smell of sweet onion sauteing is one of life's greatest pleasures. Oh my gosh, that smells so good. I just gave the venison a stir, and that is done. I should actually turn that off. That means I'm just going to quick strain out any extra liquid from the venison. Yeah, so I'm just going to put all of the venison right in here with the beef, and then I can get going on the taco meat and also on the Big Mac casserole. Things are coming along nicely here, which is a good thing because I'm starting to feel slightly burnt out. I do have my queso fundido all ready to go into the oven though. I'll take the cover off though. I thought that we'd probably serve that up around halftime because the Packer game did just start about 10 minutes ago. Let's look at this. I'm getting very close to putting that together. Very close to mixing in the seasoning for the taco meat. I have the pizza soup done and in the freezer. The Crock-pot, the Crock-pot pork chops and the oven roasted pork chops are getting very close to being done as well. The queso fundidos are basically done. Okay, so Crock-pot Philly cheesesteak. I realized that in order to do that one, I need to start with the thawed meat. I'm going to be using cube steak for that today, and it is completely frozen. So a lot of the meals that I'm making today are really pretty easy to put together for the freezer. Some of them you might be thinking it's not even necessary. Whoa! We got smoke. it might even not be necessary to make them ahead, but it just really makes thinking about what I'm gonna cook and just, you know, and just getting things ready for supper that night, it just makes it a lot easier if I kind of have things in the freezer ready to go. I know that the day before I can just run to the freezer, pull something out, add some rice or maybe mashed potatoes or buttered noodles and a salad, and we've got supper. This is how the Big Mac casseroles are turning out. Here's how I started. I just have the mixture of ground venison and ground beef. I put a little Worcestershire sauce in here and some, what else I do? Some minced onion flakes and some garlic and then some salt and pepper. I just mixed that all around. And then here is kind of the next stage. So then I added in about a cup of sharp cheddar cheese. I put in some mozzarella, and then here is that special sauce. So I put a cup of that into here, stirred around the special sauce with the 2 cheeses, and then I topped it with pickles. And I know it seems kind of odd or maybe sounds strange to actually bake pickles, but it is just, it's really, really good. I really like this. I know Sam and Nick both really, really like this. And then what I'm going to do here next is just put another cup of the sharp cheddar cheese on top, and then I'm going to put a good sized sprinkling of sesame seeds on top, wrap this up nice and tight, put it in the freezer, and then this is something that I'm going to want to thaw completely before I do put it in the oven. And as you can see, I'm just using 2 of my casserole dishes. I usually just kind of grab whatever I have. How we serve this then is either on a toasted bun for those that want it a little bit more like a sandwich, otherwise on just a great big bed of shredded lettuce. That tastes really good too. And then I always have a little extra special sauce and extra pickles for when we serve it. And for the taco meat this time, I didn't even bother to mix all of the seasonings in. I just put like 4 cups, or I think there's actually a little more than 4 cups of meat in here, and 3 tablespoons of my homemade taco seasoning mix, and then I put in a cup of water, and I just kind of flattened it all out. I'm going to put them in the freezer just like that. When it's time to make tacos or nachos, I'll just thaw it, and as it heats up, all the spices will just mix in. That's super, super easy to make ahead, super easy to use. All right, so the Packer game is going on in the background if you hear noise. But anyways, I just took a moment to kind of clear my area here. I don't know why I left this there though. And the pile is mounting. I did do dishes a couple times because, you know, I always tell you guys I like to kind of keep things going as much as possible, you know, keep the dishes moving along. But I don't know, it's just things are happening. So anyways, I have 3 of these packages of frozen chicken breast. I'm moving on to this recipe here called grilled sesame chicken. I'm going to use 1.5 bags per family size recipe of this, and here we go. This is what the sesame chicken looks like, and this is going to be just marinating kind of in the freezer here until it's time to grill that. Sorry I couldn't show you more of that, but my battery had run out. No, you have to go in because you were being naughty. Go inside. So this is one of my above the refrigerator freezers, and I have some of the chicken that I'm going to make. I'm going to use for the bacon chicken ranch that I'm going to be doing, and then this is the chicken here that I'll be using for the oven fajitas, and then I have my 2 baked pork chop dinners, and then we have the 2 sesame chickens. So things are really kind of coming along here. I'm kind of trying to wrap up the day a little bit. I made up the marinade for the chicken fajitas that'll be made in the stove. I'll just pop this in the fridge. It's actually kind of nice to do it in advance because then all the flavors can kind of meld before we actually make that. And now I'm going to do just the very last thing of the day. I'm just going to fry up all this bacon, and that's going to be for the bacon chicken ranch. It's called Crock-pot bacon chicken ranch. And so you can either serve it on like toasted hoagie rolls, or you know, just eat it just as is, because it's just a nice low carb. It has a lot of chicken and bacon and cream cheese and cheese, and I think it's got some chicken broth and things like that in it. So anyways, that's the last thing that I'm going to do tonight, and then I'm just going to have to tackle that, which a good portion of that is hand washing kind of stuff. So anyways, we'll tackle that, and then the day is going to come to an end. I decided to try a new way of preparing the bacon. I've just kind of seen this done. I've seen it folded in half, twisted, and put on a pan. I really have no idea. I don't even know. I don't know how long I should cook it or at what temp. So I'm just going to do a quick little search here, see what I can find, and hopefully this is faster and easier than standing here frying it at the stove. All right, looks like I'm finding something at Genius Kitchen. Twisted bacon. And it says, I'm not going to add pepper and brown sugar to it. 400 degrees. Let's view the directions. 400 degrees, 10 minutes, drain fat, bake 5 more. Okay, so for about 15 minutes it looks like at 400. We're gonna give this a try tonight. I hope that you guys enjoyed another one of these episodes of me cooking and doing all these different freezer meals. So I'm always looking for suggestions of other types of recipes to do that can be made ahead for the week, or even, you know, get popped into the freezer. If you guys have any recipes or styles of recipes that you're looking for, definitely leave a comment below, and I'll see what I can do to kind of come up with some new recipes for you guys. I appreciate you guys being here, and thanks for watching. You guys have a great evening. Bye-bye.